today we want to show you 3 songs which we think every guitarist should learn, because they're just songs that work so well on the guitar. They're from Johnny Cash's last 2 albums, 2 from American 3 and 1 from American 4. And the whole idea of the albums is that it's a solitary singer and guitarist. But these 3 songs, they're such effective songs, you know, harmonically and rhythmically, musically, that just playing them on the solo guitar and singing along works perfectly. Thanks so much for being here, guys. If you've not yet subscribed to the channel, we'd appreciate that a lot. There's a lot more guitar stuff coming your way. We've got a lot in the pipeline. Please subscribe and like. So we're going to go through the songs from easiest to hardest. We're going to start with Hurt, which is actually the last song that was recorded. It was recorded in 2002, just a few months before Johnny Cash passed away. It was written 8 years earlier by Trent Reznor of 9 Inch Nails. In the beginning, the song didn't really appeal to Johnny Cash. He thought it was kind of weird sounding. It's in this industrial genre, which is something that happened in the 90s, kind of building construction site noises, and it's very beautiful, the original, if you haven't heard it. But what won him over finally is Rick Rubin, the producer, sent him the lyrics, and he said, just look at the lyrics, forget about the original version, and if they appeal to you, we'll find a way for you to do it. And actually Trent Reznor recommends in an interview that he does, he says, you know, everyone should go and watch the music video because it's so beautiful. So one of the most notable features of the song is the harmonic rhythm, especially in the verse. So in the verse you have 1 bar of A minor and then 1 bar of C major and D major. And that bar of A minor has a lot of empty space in it. We only play in the first 2 beats and the quaver in between, the 8th note in between. And that really adds to the mood of what's being sung about. The chorus is totally different. It's got this pumping 8ths, which is strumming down 8 times per bar. So on every 8th note, it's a down strum. It's very kind of building of energy. And it also uses a pedal note, which is 1 note that doesn't change. So we can do it on the guitar by playing a high G, a pinky on fret 3 of string 1. And we just keep it there regardless of what chord we're playing. And what it does is it spices up the chords. So instead of playing an ordinary A minor, now we have an A minor 7. Instead of playing an ordinary F, now we have an F with a G on top, F add 9.
This song has 2 main patterns. The first pattern has 3 chords, A minor, C, and D, so that's 2. And uses this broken arpeggio pattern, down, 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 and here goes down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, down, down. If you listen carefully in the recording, there's 2 guitars, 1 pento each side, and one is using a regular D chord, and the other one is using a D sus2 chord. So it creates this really cool effect where you get this coloration. But if you're playing solo, just use a D sus2. It's a cooler chord than D major. The chorus uses a pumping 8th note strumming pattern, which means 8 downstrokes per chord. And the pattern goes G, A minor 7, F add 9, C for the first 2 lines. And the next 2 lines are G, A minor 7, F add 9, and back to G. And it also has this really cool accent where we play the downbeat, we're playing the whole chord, and the upbeat, we're playing just the bottom part of the chord, the lowest part of the chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's your pumping 8th note strumming pattern. The ends are the upbeats and the numbers are the downbeats. Now be sure to mute the bass strings here when you play the A minor 7 with your thumb. If you can curl your thumb so that you stop the bass strings. It's a cool trick. So you can strum all the strings without having to worry about rumbling bass strings that you don't want to ring. Now you notice here that we have that pedal note, which Johnny spoke about, is that top G gets held throughout the chord changes. It creates a really cool harmonic sound. Here's the G, the A minor, that becomes a 7. For the F it becomes an add 9, a 9th note, and for the C is a doubled 5th on the top.
next song we're going to look at is One by U2, which Johnny Cash recorded on the previous album, American 3, Solitary Man. The song was written in 1992 and it was originally actually released as a charity single, and all the profits from the song in the various countries that it sold would be donated to AIDS charities in those countries. I remember actually hearing this song live in 2003, being performed by U2 in a concert for the Nelson Mandela's Children's Fund. It was the 46664 concert. 46664 was the number of Nelson Mandela's prison cell, and he was on stage himself, and U2 were there performing the song in Cape Town. It was really poignant and beautiful. Johnny Cash, of course, knew U2. They were friends of his. They were big fans of his and friends, and they'd worked together on an album. Well, they worked together on the song "The Wanderer" for the Zorupa album in 1993. So he knew them from that, and then in the year 2000, in his second last album, he recorded One. So the song uses 16th note strumming. It gives this great kind of moving, free feel, and it has two simple chord progressions, a simple verse progression and chorus progression, and then it also has this kind of extended bridge, which is less identifiable as a pattern. The verse and the chorus just use these four chords. It's also got some really cool, the Johnny Cash version has some really cool finger picking in it. It has two guitar parts overlaid, so don't try and play everything you hear at the same time. You could injure yourself.
The chords of the verse are A minor, D, F major 7, and G. The verse goes like this. So the song uses a 16th note strumming groove, which always starts with a bass, with the lowest sounding note of the chord. The strumming pattern keeps changing throughout the song, but one way that you could do this is if you first pluck the bass, 1 and 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the 1 and 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the... Another important thing is the accent, because we're not strumming all the notes the same. After you practice this for a while, you get a sense of what you should accent, what you shouldn't accent. But as a suggestion, you could start like this: 1 and 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the... You're strumming the end of the chords, the upbeats, slightly harder. Now you'll notice that the way that they play this, they keep changing, varying the fingerings. For instance, A minor can be A sus2, the D can be also D sus2, F major 7 can be F add 9, and the G can be G sus4. The chorus is very simple. It uses C, A minor, F major 7, and C. Notice that I used two different fingerings for the F. First one I used was this, F major 7th, and the second one was that. You can use either way. When you play this one here, you get to use the lowest sounding root of the chord, F. But if you play that, you can use this root here on the 4th string.
The last song we're going to look at today is the song Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. It was released in 1989 originally and is on Johnny Cash. The Johnny Cash version was released in the year 2000. The song has universal appeal. It's a very simple message, and as such it's been adopted by everyone. It's a kind of a rallying anthem. In America it's been used by the Republicans and the Democrats and plenty of sporting events. In the original, what's really cool is George Harrison's playing lead guitar and Ringo Starr's playing the drums. You can see them in the music video. Apparently Tom Petty had this terrible cold and he couldn't sing, so George was singing in the rehearsals, And then George Harrison went out and got a ginger root, which he mixed this concoction, very forward thinking, and that got Tom Petty, healed him, and he was able to sing and record the part. Johnny Cash recorded it, of course, 10 years later, just over 10 years later, on his American 3 Solitary Man album, the same one that he recorded 1 on, and he sings it nearly a whole octave down. What's cool is Tom Petty is on that album with him, playing some additional guitar and providing backing vocals. The version that Johnny Cash does it's almost a whole octave down. So Tom Petty's is in G major and Johnny Cash does it in A major. So that's actually, it sounds like it's a tone higher, but he does it a whole octave lower. And he has some really cool little bluesy bends and things that he adds to the guitar part. Another thing which is really interesting, if you listen to the two versions, from a classical music point of view, we'd say I'd say at least, the Tom Petty version is in the classical ideal, like Mozart, where it's objective emotion. He's singing about something, whereas the Johnny Cash is really in the romantic ideal, which is subjective emotion. He's singing about himself. It's not just an idea. And that's what Johnny Cash did with all these songs. They have this intense personal feeling to them. And as such, they're kind of more rough around the edges.
So this song starts with this upbeat introduction, the upbeat of beat 3. 1, 2, 3. It's E, G, and then a half bend on a C, pull off to A. I'm plucking both notes, E, G, and then you get these two versions of the A major, A sus2, and to D sus2. And in the middle, he managed to strum the open strings very quickly, very lightly. Because it's a nice groove. And if you listen very carefully, one of the guitars managed to sneak in a D9 chord on the way back. It's very quick, and you can hear better in the middle of the song when the introduction comes again. The verse is based on a 4-line pattern. Lines 1, 2, and 4 are the same. Line 3 is slightly different at the end. And now you notice there that there's a push when you move from the E chord into the A. We're moving just an 8th note earlier. So we move on the upbeat, on the upstroke. Another thing to note there is that when we play the A, we can do A4 and A sus2. The chorus is based on a 5-line pattern. Lines 1, 2, 3 are the same. Full bar of D sus2, full bar of E. And on the E chord, they have a little bit of fun. They play sometimes the E sus4. And the last 2 lines are exactly the same as line 1 and 2 of the verse. F sharp minor, E, and A. At the very end of the chorus, you have this nice break. 2, 3. And that leads into the introduction again. If you're struggling with bar chords and you'd like to learn a version with only open chords, you can play it in G major, the original version that Tom Petty wrote in. Pattern 1 is E minor, D, and G. Those are lines 1, 2, and 4. The third line is E minor, D, and C. And in the chorus, the pattern goes C, D. And here you can also add the D sus4. You can have fun with that as well. And then the last 2 lines of the chorus are exactly the same as lines 1 and 2 of the verse. E minor, D, and G. If you like to play in the same key as Johnny Cash, you can just use a capo on the 2nd fret, and that will put you in the key of A major. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We hope this was useful to you. These are some really great pieces to practice your strumming technique. You've got the bumping eighth notes, you've got the alternate strumming, and the 16th note strumming pattern. So this is super great. Tabs for everything that we've played today. It's available at our Patreon page. Really appreciate if you subscribe, hit the like button, and thanks so much. See you soon.